I am enabling. I'm enabling people to stay alive, not to use more drugs. Whether I'm here or not, you're gonna use. The overdoses are quicker, they're stronger, it comes down like a f***ing brick. We're fighting a different beast now, right? Nobody deserves to die because they use drugs, nobody. My name is Tino Fuentes, and I am a harm reduction consultant. So I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn. We were poor. The people that were eating there, people that were living well, were selling drugs. The American dream, right? Yay! I wanted to make money and have things. I have family members that use drugs, friends, people I grew up with. It's always been around me. I started selling drugs at a very young age, from weed to coke to quaaludes. Eventually, I got to heroin. That's where the money was at. In New York City in the 80s, there were lots of drugs. If you bought coke, you were buying coke. If you bought heroin, you was buying heroin. Whatever you bought, that's what you were buying. And of course, once in a while, you would run into something that was not what it was. Back in sometime in the 90s, there was this drug called Tango and Cash. And I think one of the kickers were like 13 or 30 people, whatever, had overdosed over the weekend, and nothing was being said. Nobody gave a f***. Tango and Cash was killing people everywhere. It was later found out that Tango and Cash, they were putting fentanyl into it.
The fentanyl threat and the broader opioid epidemic are the #1 drug threats facing our country.
More and more people are dying from fentanyl.
Killing people at a rate more than 4 times as high as fatal car crashes.
I think in New York City, every 7 hours somebody dies of overdose. I got tired of, people dying. There might be something there that could prevent at least some of these deaths. I talked to a couple of health officials, doctors, etc. And I started going out myself. I know the neighborhoods, I know the areas, I know the people that are using. I started going out myself and trying to talk to people and introduce this fucking piss strip. These strips were made for urine. And then I dip it into the residue. We're gonna test it for fentanyl. It says 5 minutes. Within a minute or less, it'll tell you this one is positive, 1 line. 1 red line is positive. If you have 2 lines, it's negative. Look, this is nothing. This is a strip, a piece of paper. It's a way for me to be able to talk to you. There's fentanyl in it. These are the things that you can do. During the beginning, I would tell people, okay, I'll tell you what. If it tests negative for fentanyl, I'll give you the $10. I mean, you're gonna keep your bag any way, but I'll give you the $10 and buy yourself another bag, whatever you want. If it's positive, we'll sit down and have a conversation. Not once did I ever have to pay that $10, because every time I tested, it was positive. Treatment programs, I don't know. What works for you might not work for me, might not work for, we have to treat people individually, and also the person that used drugs, they should have a voice at the table, because they'll know better what does help and what doesn't help. Certain officials were like, you're wasting your time, you're wasting money, we're not gonna do this. We as a country don't give a fuck, especially the government, because there are options, there are things that we can do, and we don't. The newest country, the most progressive country, we're a third world country when it comes to drug use and drugs. The Blasio, the city of New York, whatever, got millions to fight this opioid crisis. And he gave half of it to the NYPD. Half. We're the biggest police force in the country, and we're bigger than some countries' small army. But we're also the most abusive, racist, everything else you can add to it, police force. So they can armor up and go into communities of color and do more destruction and damage. White people have always use more drugs than people of color. They're realizing that now because the highest rate of overdose are white people. That we always had like the war on drugs, and now, they're shifting over to like a gentler touch, a softer touch, right? That softer touch is still not for my community. It's always been there. We have always been dying and nobody gave a f***. It never left. It just, the tone of the skin tone of the person that's using it is what changed. If you want to try to do something about, or keep people alive, make it work for everybody, not just a particular people. The next person that dies could be your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. Like everybody's affected. Everybody that I talk to, either them, their family member, a friend of a friend, a family member, like everybody's f***ing affected. And every time there's some opioid summit or whatever it is that they want to call it, it has to do about pills, or we're suing the pharmaceutical companies or whatever. F*** all that shit. We're past that, Find a way to keep people alive.